Welcome to Leadr Podcast, the ultimate destination for medtech insights, leadership inspiration, and the latest innovation. I'm Steph Pliha, founder of Tribe Agency and your host for Leadr Podcast.
Welcome to episode 14 of Leadr Podcast. Today, I'm excited to host Kendy Elmore. He's the founder of The Lobby, a thriving network for medical sales professionals. Join us as Kendy shares his transition from teaching to medical sales, the power of community, and how The Lobby is revolutionizing networking and support in our industry. Let's get into it. I am super excited to have Kendy Elmore join us today on Leadr Podcast. This is episode 14. And Kendy, welcome to Leadr Podcast.
Thank you so much, Steph. It's such a pleasure to be here and so grateful that you've invited me to join the podcast.
I know. I feel like it just had to happen because our stars are very aligned. We're in a very similar space, approaching a very similar audience. And I just feel like you need to be on the podcast. So let's talk about how we met. So I think it's honestly half the people I talk to on this podcast are all from the same origin story. It's LinkedIn. So technically, LinkedIn should pay me for promoting their networking ability.
Exactly.
And I truly use it the way that most people should use it, which is to network within your industry. I'm constantly telling my sons who are in college right now, get on LinkedIn, build your network, build your profile. In fact, I think last night I put a plug out for one of my twins. Anyway, so I think you and I met possibly on LinkedIn, maybe through some direct messaging, or I might have seen you promoting your company, which we're going to talk about, and maybe I reached out to you. I don't really remember. Do you remember?
Yeah, I feel like there was a mutual connection in there as well, that maybe somebody told us that we should connect as well.
Could have been. So you and I have a similar client. My client is Medical Sales 101. I know that they're also a partner of your company or they're a sponsor for your company. So it could have been through that. But anyway, happy to meet you virtually and over a podcast. I know we've spoken in the past, and I'm excited to get into some topics today. So first of all, tell me about yourself. Tell the listeners about yourself. What's your background? Why medtech? Why are you in this space?
Yeah, I kind of stumbled my way into it. It wasn't something that I grew up knowing I wanted to do, which I think is so fascinating to see the number of universities across the country that are now developing medical sales programs, in the colleges, which I now look back like I wish I would have found the industry at that point, but I didn't know about it in college. I was a biology major, graduated, taught high school science and coached baseball and football for 5 years. And it was during that period where I knew kind of my gears turned a little bit differently. I knew I was very driven, very motivated. And, as an education profession, they kind of stick you in a box, and that's your salary and that's your total income potential. And I knew kind of my gears were different. I wanted to be very motivated, very driven, and was looking for an opportunity to kind of push myself and earn more, right? And I think that's what drives a lot of people in this industry. And that kind of tied with my science background, was able to find the medical sales industry. So thankful, and kind of marry those two together, right? My passion for science, my passion for helping others, but also my drive to be, a higher income earner.
Yeah. What a pivot, by the way, from being a teacher to medical sales. That's a hell of a pivot. Congratulations.
It was. And listen, it wasn't easy. I like to tell people I wish I had a stack of rejection letters. I don't even have that. It was a 1.5 years of silence, really.
Yeah.
That was a very, very challenging process, and I think is really stuck with me in my career. And that there's those people still kind of trying to make that transition, still have a special place in my heart and a special place in the lobby and the company I've built. And we try to keep those people in mind because it is a process and it is a challenge. But was very, very grateful, very fortunate that the company was willing to give me a shot at an ASR position. So I came in as an associate sales rep with a capital equipment company, proved myself there, and kind of spent the next 13 years in the medical sales industry, working for a number of different companies, pivoted from capital into orthopedics, and spent about a decade as a surgical rep in the orthopedic space.
Beyond your medtech experience, what led you to start The Lobby? Tell us the origin story of The Lobby, and then I would love to hear more about
what problem it's solving currently.
Yeah. So there's a number of things that I think that led into it, right? I think it was pieces of like my teaching and coaching days, right?
Hmm.
That impact that I felt where I really was making a difference in other people's lives. I also reached a point, in my career, I was turning 40. I was looking at like kind of what the next step of my career looked like. Was it management? Was it distributorship? Was it, another level, another company? What was that next step for me, right? I think after 13, 14 years at the rep level, I was kind of ready for a new challenge. Um, and I sat down. There's a number of books, a number of podcasts that kind of were influential in that time and in that space for me. But for me, I wanted to do something where I could impact others, and I set the personal goal of creating a business that would impact the lives of 100,000 people. And my goal, as I looked at that, I think it's attainable. I think it's also a big enough number to challenge me, scare me a little bit. But I really want to figure out, well, who did I want to help, right? I think one of the greatest gifts we can give this world and others is to help others. It's one
Hmm.
of the greatest feelings and one of the greatest things we can do, I think, in our times here. But what could I build? What could I do that was going to help others? And I specifically started looking at the medical sales industry. And I started thinking about my experience in the industry. What was missing? Right? What void could I fill? What new product could I bring? And for me, I always thought, our industry was missing a central organization for the sales rep community.
Hmm.
If you look at most professions, out there, there's some sort of an association or some central organization that brings that profession together. The medical sales industry is very competitive, and I think this is a piece of it, but we're very siloed and very segmented, right? Not only within orthopedics, right? Your Stryker, your J&J, your ZB, your Smith and Nephew, and so that's kind of segmented, but also your medical, your pharma, your dental, and that's kind of segmented. So the idea was, how do we create a central space for that community to come together, right? And then provide resources for the sales rep. For years, my customer had been physicians, the hospital, those sort of individuals. But for now, with the lobby, my customer is the sales rep. So all the resources, all the programs, everything we do is built, and we say built by sales rep for sales rep, because all of our community, our leaders, everybody comes from a sales rep background, and we're driving and building programs to help those reps. And so it was like, well, where do you start? One of the things I thought was a central place we could start, an easy place, was networking events.
Hmm.
Our industry, again, has never had an event or an organization where I could just go have drinks with other medical sales reps in my city. We could bring in a speaker and get professional development and meet other reps in the city. I mean, you pass each other in the hospitals, you see each other in the parking lot, you kind of get to know a few, but there was never really that central space to come together. And so it started in Charleston, South Carolina, where I was based, and I saw a couple other industries doing the same thing. The real estate industry has a group; they meet quarterly, and all the real estate agents come together. There's a group for lawyers in South Carolina, and they all
Hmm.
go down and play golf, once a year, and they have speakers and event and that sort of thing, and professional development. So the idea is, how do we start to bring our community together? And we really piloted the program and the idea with networking events in Charleston.
When did you officially launch the lobby? How long has it been in?
February 2022 was my first event in Charleston. I was still a
Okay.
rep to Stryker. I was doing some mentoring, and I always liked the idea of meeting other reps, and even if we were competing and standing next to each other in the OR, and the surgeon was trying to decide which of us he was going to use, I was still going to ask you about your family, your kids, how life was going, how business was going. I wanted to get to know you as a rep and a person, because we're in the same profession.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was February 2022 was our first event in Charleston.
So I attend one of your local events. What would I expect from the networking event? Am I getting coached on how to get a job? Or am I getting coached on how to effectively publicly speak? All of the above, none of the above? Tell me what an event looks like.
Yeah, that's a great question, Steph. It's something we constantly look at. So, when you host an event, the first question is, well, who's invited, right? If
Hmm.
I'm going to have a party, who am I going to invite to my party, right?
Right.
And so that was something we had to decide early on. The idea and the intention was for the medical sales established reps, right?
Okay.
And bringing those established reps together, just like a professional organization or an association. However, we touched on it earlier. Young Kendy teacher trying to get into the industry, I still have a soft spot for that person. And I also
Yeah.
think there's a lot of opportunity and value for those people to attend our events. And so we do leave the door open. If you look at any of our event, invitations or promotions, it says anyone in the medical sales industry. And I want to clarify, when I say medical sales, I mean pharma, dental, medical,
Yeah.
surgical, chemical, right? You fall under healthcare sales. We're a community for you, or anyone interested in learning more about the industry, right?
Okay.
So we leave that door open to college students, nurses looking for clinical specialist roles, the B2B'er that's trying to figure out, how do I navigate this process to get into medical sales? And one of the things we always try to do is have a speaker at our event. So what you're going to learn is really going to vary by the event. We try to theme it where it may be a coach, teaching about sales training. It may be a LinkedIn coach teaching you how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. It may be, a recruiter telling you about what's going on in the industry. So it's always going to be new and different at every event that you come to.
Yeah.
We always want to add some value so that when you come to an event, you're going to get a network, you're going to meet other reps, and then you're going to learn some value and get some takeaway there as well.
I think, a big part of where maybe people fail is, there's a lot of things I could say when I reflect back on my leadership of med sales reps, but I think a big part of it is they don't know how to manage themselves. There's a lack of EQ in this kind of new generation of med device reps, or even just college graduates. And there's just so much legacy knowledge that I think can be passed on to the newbies of this industry. Still a very profitable and thriving industry. So I highly recommend it. I know you do too, or you wouldn't have started the lobby. But I also think there's a lot to learn. It's not an easy job. It's not for someone that just wants to sit back and kick their feet up on the desk and collect a check. Maybe more towards the pharmaceutical route, if that's genuinely what you want. Although I don't even think pharm is easy anymore. But I do think med device and, surgical sales, which I think both of us have a good amount of experience in, is a different beast. And I think there's a lot you can learn from people before you. So I applaud you for launching the lobby. I do agree that even just med device and ortho, I feel like they're completely different worlds. I know a few people in the ortho space, which is really the only thing that connects me. And I've got a couple clients in the ortho space as well. But prior to launching Tribe, I was really isolated into the soft tissue surgery world, right? And I only knew people that were kind of approaching that same market. And then ortho was like a dotted line. There were robotics at that time, but we didn't even consider them in the same space, right? Which is weird.
Nope.
It's not intentional. It's just kind of how we all grew up in this industry. So I love that you're creating kind of an agnostic community for anyone in the med device, med sales, pharm, healthcare, whatever you want to call it, sales environment.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to help you launch this platform. I'll tell you the one thing that I've now changed in my approach. I get maybe 1 or 2 solicitations, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, from either my existing network of parents or my kids' friends or family members. I've had a family member approach me. All of them want to break into medical sales. And they all come to me. Like, how about we don't come to me anymore? But I'm happy to. But now I'm actually thrilled between the lobby and Medical Sales 101, which is a client of ours. I do feel like I have resources, and I'm happy to help people. I'm not trying to say I don't want to mentor people, but I do think there's a lot of resources out there that didn't exist when you and I broke into medical sales.
Oh, yeah.
I did it by answering an ad in the LA Times. That's how long I've been in this. It was predating the internet. And shout out to Rhonda, who hired me literally off of an ad that said medical sales, salary plus. That was it. Then I responded and the rest is history. But so now I just recently had a friend of my kids that has found her interest in medical sales and wants to break in. And I immediately sent her to the lobby, because I feel like even as they are starting to explore other options or other industries, getting close to the subject and starting to make connections within this industry is absolutely going to help people that want to go into that practice. And then I also think you have a ton of resources on your website, Tribe being one of them, but also my Client Medical Sales 101 and various other services and industries and recruiters that are within the realm of medical sales. So again, start with the lobby, and then you'll see multiple resources listed on the website. And by the way, since we're talking about it, how do people connect with the lobby? What's the website?
Yeah, so it's thelobbynetwork.com. And there you'll find information not only about our company and our history and kind of who we serve, but also you'll get access to the lobby platform. And that's really where we've transitioned to, a little over 2 years now. So it's phase one was really growing the networking side of the business, right? And we're now in 30 cities across the country, replicating and doing the same thing we were doing in Charleston, hosting networking events quarterly in those cities. As we grew, we saw the need to bring all those resources that you mentioned, right? The medical sales 101s, the resume writers, the people reaching out, asking questions about the industry. LinkedIn is the gold standard for professional networking, and it always will be, right? What we saw was as we built our community and we established, we grew to 40,000 reps. And, we saw this ecosystem starting to form of people in the industry, right? Your current sales reps, people trying to get into the industry, and then people kind of, in addition to that, the recruiters, the companies that are launching new products need to hire 75 reps over the next 10 years. The companies that are building CRM tools for medical sales reps, and how do we get this in front of the reps? So we saw a need to kind of take that community and take that ecosystem and put it all in one place. And so we really spent a lot of time replicating the success of LinkedIn and building a social platform for the medical sales industry, similar to LinkedIn, but it's 100% medical sales. So medical sales, people trying to get into events, jobs, that whole thing.
Okay, so talk me through what it would look like. Let's just say I'm a medical sales rep and I want to be a part of a bigger community, or I'm looking to maybe break into medical sales like we talked about earlier. What's the process? Is it going to cost me something? So I go to the lobbynetwork.com. Walk me through that from that point on.
Yeah, once you kind of hit our landing page, which is our website, thelobbynetwork.com, then you'll see, multiple opportunities to join now, right? And at this stage, we are a free platform, similar to creating a profile on LinkedIn. You'll go in, you'll build a profile, and at that point, you're kind of in the lobby community. And again, our customer is the sales rep. And so it's been my job over the last 2 years to go out and scrape the industry and find anybody impactful, influential, and partner with them and bring them in. So to give you examples, Claire Davis, who's a resume writer specifically for the medical sales industry, I have people all the time reaching out, asking me about resumes and resume help. I don't have the time, energy, bandwidth, or skill set to write resumes all day. Claire Davis has built an incredible business around that. So we've brought her into the lobby platform and she's accessible there. Medical Sales 101, as you mentioned earlier, they have great programs and host events helping people get into the industry. So we've brought them in there. Sales trainers and sales coaching and sales development programs, we've brought those coaches in there. We've built the industry's largest medical sales job board with nearly 6,000 job openings currently in there. That's on there. All of our
Is that
events.
right? I got to stop you for that. So you kind of subtly mentioned you have 40,000 subscribers. That's significant to any medical manufacturer, anyone that wants a hot spot of people, hire ready and actively interested in the medical device industry. But then coupled with that, you said you have 6,000 jobs listed on your site right now?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. So we've gone out, and again, it's my job, my mission as the founder to provide those resources because we want the lobby to be a tool for a rep, no matter where you are in the industry. Obviously, as you know, you typically move a couple companies in your career in this industry, whether it's switching from one industry to another or one company to another. So we want to create a central database where you can find all those jobs. If you've ever been through the job search process in this industry, actually finding the job is one of the most challenging parts, right?
Yeah.
There are so many companies that don't post on LinkedIn. There's so many companies that use external recruiters. There's about 300 different external recruiting agencies that all have their own individual job boards. So actually finding those jobs can be extremely time consuming. I remember when I was searching, I actually would save the bookmarks. So on my
Yeah.
website or on my webpage, I would have all the bookmarks searched, and I would click on those and go to each page and search them routinely. So similar to if you use Kayak to book a flight, right?
Hmm.
You can go to Kayak, you type in your flight details, and it pulls all the flight options, and then you go to that website and book your Delta flight once you've
Yeah.
compared the other flights. Same concept. We're creating a central database of all the jobs, and then once you find the job you want to apply to, it's literally on the company's page, just like on LinkedIn, and then it takes you to that website so you can apply and go through their process for application.
Wow. So I'm trying to think about the fact that, I want to call it this because I do think everyone should be on LinkedIn. But if you're in the medical sales world or you are looking actively in breaking into this industry, you need to be on the lobbynetwork.com. Period. End of story. It is the LinkedIn version of medical sales, right? It's medical sales LinkedIn.
Exactly.
And yes, you should be on LinkedIn as well, especially if you're ambidextrous and you want multiple industries within your network. But I think absolutely, if you're in this industry, anywhere, as a hiring manager or a medical sales rep or desiring to get in this industry, Kendy has built a platform in which one is accessible for free right now. I don't know how long that's going to be turned on, but you've got 40,000 subscribers. I would assume at some point you're probably going to charge for it. But that being said, this is a massive opportunity to get in on the front end of this company. Make sure you're involved, make sure you're in the network, make sure you're attending events. I think he has access to brilliant minds that will educate you, probably right now at no cost to you. So I highly recommend and strongly urge you to connect at minimum. I'm going to put the link to his website within the show notes today. But super thrilled to have you be on here and discussing it. One, selfishly, because now I can refer everyone to you. But let's be clear, you're not a recruiter. You work with recruiters, you work with service people within the medical space like myself and various others. Like you said, there's recruiting, there's professional resume writing. At some point, I have goals on writing like a mini course on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So there's going to be quite a bit of medical sales related resources that will be tuned in on his website. So make sure you tune in. If you're listening today and you're part of this industry, definitely join because it's not going to cost you a dime.
Thank you.
Let's talk about just the industry as we wrap up. What are your thoughts? I still tell everyone that asks 100% inflation-proof industry. It's never steered me wrong. I've never been hit with any of these recessions. The entirety of my career, my husband's in tech sales and they've been hit a couple of times in our last 2 decades. We really haven't. Even after 9/11, even after other economic crashes, we kind of held it together because unfortunately for medical sales, people are always sick. They're just always sick. Unfortunately. And there's always a need for surgery and there's always a need for a pill for every ill, And until we get to a naturopathic place, which obviously I'm advocating for, and I hope that somehow comes about. But I think the medical industry and the medical device, pharmaceutical, ortho, it's all going to be out there. People get sports injuries all the time. So independent of what's going on in the economy, this industry is the industry to be in. Plus, you can make a ton of money and you get to work with really smart people and you get the luxury of being autonomous for the most part, unless you're an inside sales rep. Most medical device reps are outside sales. So you have the opportunity to go out, meet with surgeons, doctors, people within your industry. They're usually all very high caliber people, make a ton of money and enjoy what you do. I worked at Intuitive for 12 years. I loved every day of it. I absolutely loved what I did. You're solving big problems that are obviously adding to patients' lives. So there's a noble part of it as well beyond the monetary. But what are your thoughts? I personally think it's the one that to aspire to be in.
Yeah, I think, if you're driven, you want to help others, you want to make money, you want to, live a great lifestyle, you get to travel, like you said, work with some of the most brilliant people. and not have to do all the training they did. My brother's a doctor, and I watched him go to school and grad school and med school and the fellowship, and I was like, man, are you ever actually going to start working and making money? And so it's a nice way to plug in pretty quick to this amazing community that you get to tap into and be a very significant part of the patient care, right? You
Absolutely.
are a part of that team, and those surgeons, that hospital, they rely on you for the products that you're bringing to the table and the service that you bring.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing industry, and even if you're like, well, I'm not salesy, I'm not pushy, I'm in the clinical role. Great. There's clinical specialist roles, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of different roles in the industry. And one of, our visions, one of the things I'm very passionate about is not just finding a job in this industry, but finding the right job for you in this industry. Because
Yep.
once you start looking at it, I mentioned a number earlier, nearly 6,000, and I'd say we're just starting to scrape the surface of the actual total number of jobs in this industry. We still have a number of companies that we still want to partner with and get their jobs added. But and we're building and overlapping it with some AI technology that'll help reps not just find a job in their city, but find the
Hmm.
right job. So through a series of questions and a series of information about you and what you want to do, we can help you find the right company based on that. But I think whether it's pharma, dental, aesthetics, surgical, capital, right? There's so many different ways you can go, but it's finding the right one for you. And I think that's what I love about our events too. It's a great opportunity to meet those other people. Say, hey, how do you like aesthetics? What do
Yeah.
you like from intuitive? Do you like the capital sale process? Right. And ask those questions and help find the right process and the right job for you where you're going to be happy and stay and productive for you yourself and the company.
Absolutely. So I think I know the answer to this because I think we've talked about it in the past, but just for our listeners and our viewers today, if I'm in college and I'm thinking about getting into medical sales or I'm passionate about helping people or patients, and I think that, maybe I have a bio degree or a pre-med undergrad, when would be the right time to start exploring this industry? I have an opinion, but I want to know yours first.
I don't think it's ever too early. Yeah, that's what I love about, us leaving that door open to our events. We have college students come all the time and say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm a junior. I want to get into medical sales when I graduate. What can I be doing now to set myself up for success in 2 years? Right. And what I love is, you mentioned it earlier, is kind of paying it backwards. I
Hmm.
believe you should always have two people in your life, somebody pulling you forward, a coach, a mentor, somebody that you're looking up to and is helping you, grow in your career. You should also have a hand kind of backwards, helping pull someone else forward. And so
Yeah.
I think what we've seen with our lobby community is most people think that same way too, right? They're looking for guidance. Maybe they're looking to be pushed in some way themselves, but they're also willing to take a second and say, hey, here's some advice I would give you to my younger self. If I was in your shoes, this is what I would do differently, or advice I would give. But I think starting to network and getting involved early, starting to learn the industry, learn the lingo, learn the different routes and paths you can go. And like I said, find the right one for you.
Yeah. No, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, the more I'm talking to you and just kind of understanding your network and how your company came about, but also what it serves, what problem it's solving for, it is 100% no-brainer. It doesn't cost you a dime. Join thelobbynetwork.com. Period. End of story. If you want to break into this industry or you even want to thrive in this industry,
Yeah.
if you want to meet people outside of your immediate purview, join thelobbynetwork.com. Period. Okay.
Thank
So all speakers that come on Leadr, you're asked the same three questions and you don't get away with not getting the same three questions thrown at you. So we'll do it as a speed round now. All right.
Okay.
The three things I want to know about, in no particular order, you can pick what you want to talk about first. I want to know about a mentor that has impacted your life and your career. I want to know about a book, whether it's a business book or not. I've had other people use fiction books, which I don't have any judgment towards, but a book that you think would impact the audience as well. And then what do you think is your number one superpower? Everyone has a superpower. They may not have been asked it in the past, but it's also a good interview question. So people can prepare. What is your superpower? Those are the three things I want to know.
All right. I'll start with, man, mentors can be hard because I've had so many impactful people in my life. From the guys that gave me my first shot in the industry as that associate rep, to the mentors that helped develop me into the rep I am today, all the way up to the people now that are the coaches I use that have helped me grow this company. Right. So I guess I'll hone in on one that was very pivotal in moving from sales rep to founder, CEO of a company, right? That was a
Mm-hmm.
big shift for me. And I know you've experienced that same
Mm-hmm.
thing, but it's a
Yeah.
completely different dynamic from like, hey, I'm going to go out and deliver a message that's been built for me, a product that's been built, to like, hey, now it's my job to build these products, to build our message, and to build our strategy. So as I went from that one Charleston event to now we've hosted over 100 events in 30 different cities across the country, we had to build out a system to grow to that, right? And building out that structure and that system, I brought in a coach to help me with that. And she had built a very similar kind of network, just in a different vertical. And I was like, hey, I can help replicate what we've done and bring it to your verticals, because it's the same system and the same processes. But starting to build those processes out, um, that coach, that mentor was so valuable. And now we're working with a platform coach who's built and sold platform, just again in a different vertical. But as we now are really a SaaS company, right, and have a platform, what that looks like, and having a mentor help me there. So I think it's just so important to understand where you are in your life, and finding someone that's ahead of you that can help pull you forward to that space, whether it's a coach, a mentor, but someone that's dedicated to your success and helping you get to that next step, because it's changed for me throughout my career.
Absolutely. Do you want to share the name of the coach?
Yeah, Jess. She's
Jess.
with Grid. And then Kara is with nurse.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just got to interrupt for a second because I'm super passionate about something you just said, which is coaching. I think
Mhm.
all great athletes and all great business people know that they don't know everything. They know a
Yeah.
lot about a few things, but they don't know everything. And I too, when I left corporate and launched Tribe, I sought out not so much a coach, but I did a course that was made up of multiple coaches that had done something similar. And it was wisdom beyond wisdom. It's also just super motivating. So
Yeah.
for everyone out there, find a course, find a coach for whatever you're trying to accomplish, whether you're trying to get better at interviews, or you're trying to break into medical sales, or you're trying to get promoted, or, whatever. There are courses and coaches for every single thing you need to do. Shameless plug for me. I have 30-day entrepreneur. I basically was asked multiple times how I was able to launch Tribe within 30 days of leaving corporate. And so I took all of my notes for the first 30 days and packaged it into a 4-module course. It's at 30-day entrepreneur. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But I do feel really passionate about asking for help. You're not expected, especially if you're breaking into medical sales or trying to get promoted, you're not expected to do it on your own. We have, you and I both have referenced people and courses that have affected us and our growth. I know of a really good executive coach as well in this space. So I think it's important to note that, as you mentioned, that you had different coaches and different mentors for different parts of your career. And look at professional athletes. They all have coaches. They
Yeah.
have personal coaches that work with them on, if they're a kicker, kicking the ball correctly, or if they're, on a team, they have a coach that's coaching their team, and they're constantly giving them feedback on what they can do to do it better. So
Yeah.
anyway, total tangent. Sorry, but
And I completely agree. I'm a huge, huge believer. I tell people all the time, like, go find somebody out there to help you. I mean, if you go to the gym, you work with a trainer. Right? If you're looking
absolutely.
at your finances, you have a financial advisor. Having these people in your life, and be humble enough to say, hey, I'm not the expert here,
Yep.
but I'm going to go find somebody that can help me get there, right? Help
Find
me
the
achieve my
expert.
goals. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think it's huge, and there's so many people out there now. I love how the coaching industry's grown so much over the last couple of years. You can find a coach on anything now. Right?
Anything.
There's a coach on anything. So find somebody that's doing a good job of it. Talk to them, understand their process, and then work with them to help you reach that goal. And when you outgrow that coach and you hit that goal, find another coach to get you to the next goal, and keep
Yep.
pushing yourself, grow and
Yep.
grow.
Completely agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Last two, superpower and book.
All right, I'll do book next. So this is one you asked me earlier about, kind of the lobby and the formation, and there were so many books and podcasts and experiences that led me to this. But one that I really love, it's called Ikigai. It's Ikigai,
I'm
Ikigai,
writing it down. Ikigai.
Gai.
Okay.
Yep. And I
Ikigai.
can give you the
Tell us
gist
about
of
that.
it.
Yeah.
But it's this philosophy, and your ikigai is your purpose, right? And that we all have our own separate ikigais or purposes in life, right? And there's really four pillars that kind of help form your Ikigai. And this is a book I read at this stage before I started the lobby, when I was kind of trying to figure out what my next move was going to be. But those four, and it's really the way they set up is a diagram of four circles, and in the middle, all four overlap, and that's your Ikigai. But the four circles are: what are you good at, right? So what skill set do you have? What do you love to do? Because those could be different. You could be good at
Hmm.
something, but not
Yep.
love it, but not be good at it.
Yep.
What does the world need? And then how can you earn a living, right? So how can you make money off of it? And when those four things for you intersect, that's kind of your purpose, your Ikigai. So again, what you love to do, what the world needs, what you're actually good at, and then how you can make money. And I did. I sat down and I wrote those things out. I'm a big vision boarder. I have
Yeah.
these giant post-it notes I'll put on my wall, and I wrote down, everything I could think of that would fall under those four things for me. And that's where when I talked earlier about like, what does the world need? I look specifically at the medical sales industry, right? It's like, what's missing in our industry that I wish I would have had as a rep, or I wish I would have had getting into the industry,
Yeah.
or what resources that would help me get better. Um, the what are you good at, right? And kind of the world I knew, and then what did I enjoy doing? And I think this probably goes into the superpower thing. I don't know that I have a superpower, but
Everybody has one. Everybody has one.
but when you look at those things, that's really was the formation and the vision for the lobby started to come through. So I think anybody that's kind of thinking about what they want to do, or trying to figure out what that purpose is, or what company or whatever it may be, it was definitely an instrumental part of kind of my transition and formation of the lobby. But when I looked at like what I was good at, what I love to do, or my superpower, I think it goes back to helping others.
Yeah.
I've tapped into this piece of myself that I I can put away my ego. I can put away, all that other stuff, the drive to be successful, the desire to be the one standing up on stage, getting the President's Club award. I mean, those things are great. And they mean so much, but the moments that have, really touched me and that'll stick with me are the moments I've helped somebody else, right? Or the moments I've helped coach someone or help
Yeah.
move the needle for someone. And so now, I get stories and messages and emails all the time when I attend these events of hearing these incredible stories of like a city I've never even been to, that all these things have happened because of the lobby, right? And so I think what we've built here and the way we're helping other people, that lights me up and that motivates me. And so I think that drive, that desire just to build something that's not like, hey, we want to set out to be $1 billion company. No, our goal is to help 100,000 people, right? And I think that's really what's driving us. And I think that's our purpose. And I love just hearing and seeing the impact that we're making in so many people's lives.
I've learned so much about you in this 30-minute conversation. Clearly, your ethos is back to what led you to be a teacher and a coach,
Yeah.
and you've just pivoted into an arena where you can make more money, but still chase the same passion of helping people, educating people, bringing people together as a community, and giving them resources to succeed. So I love that about you. And on the note of Ikigai, I think I'll probably end up adding that in as a lesson on 30 Day Entrepreneur, because there is a section in the very beginning of the module where people have to ideate on their brand, or, they have to come up with what is the problem they're solving for? What is the big idea? And what are we going to create a business out of? And, sometimes people come already with that information, similar to I did. I kind of already knew which direction I wanted to go. But I think for people that are really trying to understand, what am I good at? What could I have a company on? What do I want to do for a living? What's my passion? I think this is a great book and a
Yeah.
great structure. I love anything structured to help you kind of put it all in a box and decide where you have that overlap. And so I've never heard of that book, and I've
It's a
read a
good one.
ton of business books.
It goes in line with like Start With Why, right?
Yeah.
Simon Sinek's book, like
Love
Start With
Simon
Why,
Sinek.
like,
Yeah.
it's the whole idea, like, let's figure out why we're doing it, what
Yeah.
our vision is going to be before we go out and do it. Like, spend some time in soul search, right? Because once you start a business, as you are married to that business, right? That is your business, and you really better be mindful about the direction you go and what you're doing. And certainly things change as you start the business, but I think really spending some time and understanding your why, your purpose, your ikigai, whatever you want to call it, is so valuable.
How much do you love being an entrepreneur on the note?
What time of the day is it?
Oh my
Depends.
gosh, come on. I know you love it. I know you love it. I love it.
Oh,
I know you love it. So people that have your energy definitely love it. I think you're
yeah,
living your purpose. You're clearly living an opportunity to bring community together to excel in what you do best, which is
yeah,
educating and motivating people. So I personally, I've told a few people this. I mean, I enjoyed a very prosperous career in med tech. I have zero regrets about that. It's given me all the knowledge and wisdom that I have to this day. And I've met incredible people along the whole path. But having my own company and getting to do something that I'm really passionate about that kind of checks all those boxes and really balances out what I'm good at with what I'm passionate about and where I find joy is the best thing you could ever do.
yeah,
Now, is everyone an entrepreneur? No. Some people like structure or they like it a little bit more safe. And like you said,
yeah,
depends on the day. I personally have been doing this for 2 years now. I don't think I'll ever do anything different. Right. I love it so much. And I get to meet cool people like you. I've gotten out of that corporate box where you're only around the people that work for your company or your customer base. But
yeah,
when you go out on your own, I meet people all around the world, all around the world. And I would have never had that opportunity had I not launched Tribe. So I think
yeah,
just maybe the final note is, I think both of us could say as entrepreneurs ourselves who've both formerly been in a corporate role, if you do have a passion that's unfettered, or if you do have something that you feel is a big problem to solve for and you have value to bring in that area, absolutely pursue it. At minimum, connect with either of us on LinkedIn. I'm sure we would be happy to receive your direct message. I do have my course listed on the Lobby Network if anyone's interested. I know it's technically not going to bring you into medical device, but it is coming from a medical device perspective. So
yeah,
even if you're in this industry and you're looking for a potential exit into something that you're joyful or passionate about, obviously look that up. But I do want to just impart on everyone. One, I applaud you, Kendy, for taking the leap. I do think it takes a certain level of guts to say, this is super comfortable. I'm getting a stable income every 2 weeks. I get a paycheck, whether I hit my quota or not. And yeah, it's a little scary, but what you get in return, if you're an entrepreneurial type, outweighs, it's almost priceless
yeah,
to good or bad months. And as you scale, which, is the whole purpose of our company is to help people understand how to scale their company. As you scale, it is even more fulfilling. I mean, I'm like on the Kool-Aid of entrepreneurialism because
yeah.
I just think it's incredible. And anyway, that's my little
Yeah, no,
pitch.
I completely agree. It's definitely one of the scariest, most rewarding things I've ever done. I mean, that those days leading up to leaving medical sales, right? Where you're
Yeah.
comfortable, you're 13, 14 years in, you're making great money, you're, top of your game, you've got great relationships. You're like, am I really going to walk away from all of this to start from zero? And really is usually when you start businesses, you start from negative because you got to invest money, right? And so it's a scary, scary feeling, but it is the greatest thing. I love it. I no offense to the medical sales industry, I wouldn't go back. I believe I am getting closer to my purpose. And I think we're doing some incredible things to help a lot of people. And I would just encourage people, like if there is something out there you want to pursue, go through this process, take your program. The reason it's on there, because like I said earlier, we want to help individuals at all stages of your career, whether
Yep.
you're trying to get into the industry or you're at the end of your career saying, hey, I've raised and saved up a good bit of capital now.
Yep.
I really have always wanted to do X. How
Mm-hmm.
do I make this transition? I hear it all the time. I've had people reach out to me now, say, hey, Kenny, I see you made the transition. How'd you do it? Right. And so I love that you've built a course and given some structure and some guidance around that, because it is a scary process to go through. But I think on the other side of the fear is everything great. Right. So if you can push through
Super
that,
fun. Yeah.
uh,
I don't fear failure. I just fear not pursuing things that are enjoyable.
yeah, yeah,
Money's great, but joy is 100% better. If you can do both, if you can get the money and the joy, it's like a win-win. It's
right.
not work at that point, right?
Well,
Well, Kendy, thank you so much. It's Thanksgiving week. I wish you and your family the best holiday this week, and appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know it's busy to be on Leadr Podcast, and thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to be here today and to share our message. And thank you for all you do for the lobby community as well.
Thank you.